What's up, guys? Casey and George back with the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel on another Tuesday. George, you know how we start every show over here. We got to thank TSR Racing Products for sponsoring this show. Champs Performance Parts, BRG 3D printed parts, Centex Printing out there in Temple, Texas, and Driven Racing Oil, where you can use the code GBR10, get yourself 10% off anything over $99, ships to your door for free. We also got to give a shout out to Team 14 Motorsports and Ken Jones Performance. And other than that, I guess I got to shout out my buddy George. What's up, man?
Well, not much, man. Not much at all. Guys, coming to you live from a couple of different locations today. So we're hoping that technically we don't have too much of a lag or a hitch here. So if you see a lag or a hitch, make sure you leave something in the chat there, as Monday Morning Racer and Going Bracket Racing are pretty much intertwined at this point. So welcome into the show over there on the Monday Morning Racer page. Definitely thanks for joining in with us. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. I'll do the best that I can to man both chats. So, Casey, man, I don't have much going on here. Another day at work, and no complaints. That's where I'm at.
That's right, man. I've actually been doing the same thing myself. One racing actually on Saturday. Need some new tires. You'd be sick if you knew how old those tires were. Just was trying to bug the car out before I spent anything else on it. But one thing was good, man. There was a lot of racing to watch this last weekend, and we had the SFG Super Bowl going on. We're going to run through some results there real quick, because what was interesting is on Thursday, did you see the semifinals on Thursday? Because it was Donovan Williams and his uncle, Troy Williams Jr., one of the greatest of all time. But the uncle shows him where he learned how to race, didn't he?
He showed him what's up. Old school definitely took out new school. That was definitely a great race. I did see that race. And what a weekend for the Williams as a whole. And I'm pretty sure we'll get into that as we continue to move through this stream. But heck of a weekend for the Williams boys. I watched that SFG race. Old Troy Williams definitely has been on the wheel in the first place. I can tell you that. And so has Donovan for you can't take nothing from the kid. You know, he showed up when it's time to show up. He's good on the tree. He's good at the finish line. Man, making a lot of people look bad, except for old Troy, probably where he learned some of what he knows, you know?
Yep. Bracket Racer 9622 over here is saying Donovan's the man. He learned a thing or two from the old heads. That's the truth, man, because, you know, but before we get to the next part of what Donovan's greatness is becoming, you got to talk about a local guy here to me, a guy that I talk to quite a bit, race with quite a bit out here, Sean Carpenter, running himself in the semis, not in a dragster, in a door car, and a really nice door car at that, if I may say so myself. But Sean loves Darlington, man. This, I want to say, is his, Troy gets him in the finals, but this is Sean's, I want to say, second or third final round appearance in the last couple months at Darlington. I mean, Sean's took home a lot of money from Darlington lately, man.
It's true. It's true. It's like whenever anything rolls into Darlington, you got to watch out for Sean Carpenter, who's honestly, the name is just now becoming, maybe within this year and some of last year, I began to know the name Sean Carpenter. I know a lot of you guys out there might know it a whole lot better than myself, but he's really starting to make a name for himself. I think they made jokes all stream long about him. Any weekend that there's $100,000 race, well, he's probably going to win it, because seemingly he's won a couple of $100,000 races back to back. That's saying something in our sport. You know how that goes. To be able to do it once, well, tip my cap to you. But to be able to do it multiple times, well, you're starting to slate your name on a pretty good list of drag racers for sure.
So getting back to Donovan Williams, man, Donovan Williams shows back up on Friday and defeats Robert Holton. I believe it was like a silver Mustang or something like that with some blue on it in the finals of the Friday 100K, man. Donovan Williams has to be, if there was an MVP, he had to be the MVP of that particular weekend. Saturday, then you go in there, Kyle Cotrera. That's who you were talking about right there. 200K wins in 8 days. So barely over a week, Kyle Cotrera wins 2 of them, beats another local guy, Blaine Parrish, and Blaine drops it red, gives the win to Kyle. Kyle actually got there by that jackpot, which we'll talk about here shortly. And then obviously on Sunday, the 50K race kid over Tommy Plott, getting that 50K win. Michael Pascal, also a local guy out here, man. Michael Pascal was in the semis of, I want to say, the Saturday 100K and the Sunday 50K. One of the best racers out here in the Southeast, man. He and his brother are two of the best racers in North Carolina, in my opinion. I think they live over there somewhere by Piedmont, but whenever Galot had their 10K the other day, it said Pascal on Saturday, I believe. Michael Pascal takes the win. Sunday, if they didn't say the first name, you wouldn't know who, because his brother TG is in the final with him.
Gotcha.
Pascal brothers.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, man. But let's talk about that jackpot for SFG, man, because that's kind of a highly controversial thing. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people do like it. I think this might be the second or third time Kyle Riley has done what he calls the SFG jackpot. And I personally wasn't a fan of it until I actually read the instructions on how it actually works. And I guess I wouldn't necessarily say I am for it, but it's kind of irrelevant to me at this point because it's not what it seems on the surface. And the way that it works is it's $100 a ticket. I think it's like if you lose, I don't know, realistically the first 3 rounds, then I think you can buy a ticket for $100 a ticket. You can buy 4 tickets max. Then at the end of the day, maybe they got 100 people in a hat. They put their door cars in one, the dragsters in the other. The first 8 of each that they pull out get to go into 4th round. Now, that's where everybody stops reading, including myself. Everybody stopped reading at that point. They're like, man, they're just back in 4th round just by luck of the draw. 16 guys go back in. No, that's not actually how it works. The way that it works is those 16 cars all run off, and they are starting at 4th round essentially, and they're going to race each other. One guy, who at this time ended up being Kyle Coltrera, goes into essentially what would be 7th round. So they're having their own little race off to the side, and only one guy actually gets back in the real race. So, and I don't believe that race, for example, whoever Kyle beat in the finals, I don't think he gets any money the way that I read it. I think that they're in their own race, and your winner's purse is the ability to get back in the real race. So anybody who lost in that, it's over. So what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, and I don't mind it. I like the aspect of a race inside of a race. It's $100 to get back into the show, like you mentioned, but then you got to go at it pretty doggone hard to make your way back into that race where you're coming in seemingly at the split round. So it definitely throws a wrinkle and a curveball into what we usually do at bracket races. Get you a buyback, you're done if you lose the buyback round. Well, in this case, you're not quite done. You have a chance to get put back into this race, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken myself, other promoters are doing this as well. I want to say TB Promotions may have done this as well. When Dave Conley ended up getting pretty far, or winning one of the races at Xenia, I think is where it was. But he done that off of a raffle or a re-entry style aspect of TB Promotions race. So I definitely like the idea of this. And you'll hear Kyle mention quite a bit during the weekend, or the announcer, maybe Hank or one of the other guys, mention if you lost and you bought back, but you didn't make it out of 3rd round, don't get in the cooler yet. That jackpot's coming up. You know what I mean? So there is a shot at it. Adds a little bit more drama to things. Let's be honest. In most races, you could also say that, or should I say most sports, there's always a consolation round or a type of a game that will get you back into the main ladder in the first place. So that's what it comes across to me as. Is, you didn't win the main? Well, let's get you on the consolation, and the winner of the consolation gets thrown back into the main in the first place. And it ain't like they're throwing them right back into the finals. You still got to battle it out to make your way to the final. So definitely I like it. I'd like to see it adopted a little bit more. I'm pretty sure it's already being adopted quite a bit more. It's just that it's where it started, where it got its root from, in my opinion, is SFG. They're the first one to, from what I can remember, anybody in the chat, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but they're the first ones to kind of put it out there.
Well, Danny Hoff, which by the way, congratulations to Danny Hoff because he took a streetcar down to, I want to say 4 cars in one of the 100Ks. I think actually Blaine beat him at the semis the day that Kyle won, which is what we're talking about. But Danny actually said 2 guys get in, one door car and one dragster. So they're all running together. He said there is no round money. Each jackpot winner would get 7th round loser money, though. So basically, what he's saying is, again, it's kind of like what we're saying. It's a race within a race because those guys won their class essentially. They are now in the big race. They earned their way back into the big race. They didn't just get placed. Like I said, I thought the way that I originally thought about it, and I think that probably 90% of people thought of it this way, or there wouldn't have been such a controversy, is I thought that he pulled names out of a hat, and now all of a sudden, here you go, you're back into 4th round. And I didn't like that. But now that I know you had to earn your way in, I'm not, like I said, I'm not for or against. It's kind of irrelevant to me. It's its own side deal.
Here's an update from TB Promotions too. We got Brian Whitworth in the chat. He says that TB isn't where Dave Conley may have won a raffle to get back in. He says they don't do any type of wild cards or jackpots at TB Promotions events. So definitely apologize for getting that wrong there, and definitely needed a clarification. But I'm pretty sure that's how Conley won a race, and I won't call out the promoter just for sake of being incorrect. Pretty sure that's how I believe Conley got back into a race through a jackpot of some sort.
And congratulations to Brian Whitworth, because I'm pretty sure he took home the win on Sunday at the Summer Door Car Shootout down there in Benton.
Absolutely, absolutely, and shout out to the photographer too. If you were here for the beginning of the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel live stream, you saw a photo that I liked a lot. There's a guy with a camera, and he's shooting views of the track. He's 357 photography, I do believe. Look out for him to come up and thank you for those photos, man. Look forward to seeing some of your work as well. So. Yeah, Casey. And my memory is starting to get corrected here. Dave Conley was actually at the SFG 500 whenever he won a raffle to get back into the race. That's also an SFG promoted event. So maybe this is only happening at SFG events.
Yeah, it's possible, man. I do want to say that I did hear that it potentially was happening elsewhere, but maybe it is only in the SFG side of things. But like I said, after I read the entire deal, and it seemingly is how it works for everybody. Everybody wants to read what they want to read, and they quit reading and think they know everything. I obviously am not immune to that, but now that I actually went through and read the whole deal, Kyle Cotrera forced me to read it. So Kyle Riley, thank him for that.
Yeah. Hey, again, guys, we're testing a new thing today. We're actually streaming from 2 different Facebook pages at the same time. So I know that you may see a slight lag out of me, simply because my computer, my rig, needs a little bit more speed to be able to do this. Hang in there, guys, as we continue to have this stream. And hopefully you guys can hear me okay, even though I'm kind of glitching back and forth. Okay, I'm just playing. So, hey, Paige Hamlin, what's going on, man? I'm glad to see you in here. Woman, yeah. I was going to correct myself. And great job with that Summer Door Car Shootout, helping out there. And it was a heck of a race from what I saw. So, Casey, what else we got going on today?
Well, one of the posts that actually just came out recently from the WDRA, which we're all kind of, we've all been wondering about it, and we've been kind of saying more things than a lot of people about. We didn't really know what was going on. There's not a lot been said other than talking about insurance. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know any racer that really considers where they go based on insurance, because it's an inherently dangerous sport, and people don't think about it, and they probably should, but we don't. And I just don't care about that. But what they announced today is something I do care about. And I think a lot of our viewers on the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel and podcast also think about, which is, what even is this? Well, they finally announced that they are going to have a world championship type series. They're going to have a bracket finals, which we've had asked on this show. I can't even count how many times we've had this asked on this show. But they're going to run box, no box, sportsman, which is street, which we've been talking about quite a while, motorcycle, and junior dragsters. So essentially your normal classes. And this is a quote directly from their article, their press release, I guess you'd call it. A team of top points earning racers will be selected from each track. So that's what we were talking about the other week, where bracket finals for NHRA has turned into semi and invitational now, and we didn't like that. This is specifically stating they're selecting top points earners, and the class winners of the bracket finals will receive a WDRA trophy, which I'm very interested to see what that's going to be, what it's going to look like, and a WDRA champion card. Now, what I'm wondering is, well, my question is that a gold card now for all WDRA events in, say, 2024 if you're the 2023 champion?
But let's be honest, they're going to copycat to some extent. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, what do we do for a champion? With an NHRA, you definitely get a gold card. I'm not sure what IHRA used to do. You might be more familiar. The chat, if you guys know what IHRA gives out for a, shall I say, for a reward to the person who wins the whole world championship. Is there some type of a entry fee for the year that they receive, kind of like the gold card? Let me know in the chat. I'm not for sure of what the IHRA does, but it seems like that's what WDRA is going to do, which honestly, I like it. Like I said, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. It will help out whoever is the world champion throughout the year to be able to compete for a whole year of drag racing as well. So I am also curious to see what that trophy is going to look like. Hopefully somebody puts a pretty good amount of thought process and ingenuity into it and come up with something pretty nice for the bracket racers, even if it's just a trophy with a Christmas tree and a man holding up that Christmas tree instead of something else. That would be pretty dope to have. So if you take my idea, make sure you give credit to Going Bracket Racing, by the way. All rights reserved. I'm saying it right now.
Now, this is as part of their world championship deal. They are going to have I guess they'll have their divisions, I assume, and they're going to do what our buddy Jason Phillips, our mutual friend who's been on this show, bringing back the Brett Kepner School of Drag Racing, which you can go learn about on past episodes if you want. He's been to Pomona over there. So as the Division III champion, he trucked his way out to Pomona, and then they raced for the world championship, essentially. They're going to have something like that in WDRA, where it says, quote again, where they will compete for their share of a $250,000 prize fund. Now, my other question on that is that $250,000 divided up amongst the world champion purses just at that specific race? Or is that $250,000 divided amongst, their divisionals, so to speak, or whatever they're going to end up doing? I know IHRA does their sportsman spectaculars, and that's how you earn points for something like that. I wonder how that's going to end up working. So if it's $250,000, even if they divide that into whatever 5 categories they have, that's worth competing for, man. You're talking $50,000 for your champion. That's good money right there. That's worth following a series for.
It's definitely a way to set your hook. Here's the bait. Money is probably the best fishing bait to a bracket racer, a racer, a person who goes to work. Doesn't matter. Money is the best bait that you can throw. And right now, with that announcement today from WDRA, they threw their fishing rod out there with the best bait that you can have. Let's watch how many tracks they pull in with that size of a bait. So all it does is it gives the weekend racer a reason to compete at a WDRA track to have their points, which in turn makes money for said local track, that's WDRA, which in turn makes money for WDRA, which in turn makes money for the racer as a whole. So I love that thought process, since they're telling us what they're attempting to do along the way. I'll beat a dead horse and say I'm still curious to see what IHRA is going to do. I'm very curious. Pretty well quiet as kept. If not, it's going to be the exact same. Are people looking for the exact same is the main question here. You guys are the voice. You can answer that question in the chat, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of us are looking for something a little bit different. I'm tired of renewing my belts every 2 years. Okay, it is what it is, right? But as a bracket racer, I'm tired of renewing my belt every 2 years. That's another part that I can have on my already low budget race car. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, no, that's the truth, man. And going off a tangent here real quick on the IHRA comment that you made. I think that IHRA could be the home for pro modified and mountain motor pro stock because there really isn't anywhere to do that type of stuff at as far as a professional level series goes. I mean, obviously you have PDRA, which is the Professional Drag Racers Association, but they only have so many races, and a lot of those guys, especially mountain motor pro stock, man, like they want to race more. There's not a lot of venues that they can do, and PDRA seemingly is only out here on the East Coast. So what are the guys that are over in the Midwest? I guess they could run Midwest Pro Mods. I don't know if they have Mountain Motor Pro Stock though. There's really not a lot of places for Mountain Motor Pro Stock to be, and that's one of the coolest series there is.
And that's true. And at the same time, we've already talked about No Prep Kings. It would be nice to see IHRA steal that as well. But hey, just a thought. Everybody knows Larry Jeffers is probably one of the top builders in that type of a chassis in the first place. So I got a few comments in the chat here from some guys that were at the Summer Door Car Shootout. I know from Paige Hamlin directly that Don was actually at Benton this weekend, maybe shaking hands, maybe just chatting it up with the product, which is the racer. I'm going to call us the product because it's the truth. This is who we are going to make or break WDRA based on us being the racer. And they're saying there's a lot of good things coming after getting to talk to them, to talk to Don. I'm actually curious to see all of what's coming. So definitely glad you guys had a good time at that race. Casey and I both grew up at I-57 Dragway, and wish I could have made that race myself, to be honest.
Yeah, I've competed in a couple of them, and they're great races. It's kind of a small version of what I would assume a door car version of a spring fling would be for a budget scale racer. Luke does a great job over there, and Donnie Ellis, I've heard nothing but good things ever since Donnie's taken over I-57. Donnie was a huge supporter of I-57 before he even owned the place. I don't know if he totally owns it yet. I don't know if he's leasing it, what the deal is, but I know he's running it, and I've heard nothing but good things about it. I know I've heard a lot of my dad's buddies say they've done a lot of testing out there, and they say the track's great at pretty much all the time. So thanks for everything you do, Donnie, because that's all you needed was one more thing to do in life.
Hey, I'll tell you what, man, and I'm going to pull this from the chat. It's a good segue into the next little part. We got to give a word to our sponsors. Old Chance Parker's in here saying he just got himself a door truck, and he wants to thank Going Bracket Racing for introducing him to BRG Motorsports 3D printed parts. Looks like he's got a delay box mount inside of that old door truck. Door trucks, they rule, by the way. I turn around and show you, but I don't want to have to stand up right now. Guys, hang in there for a quick second. We're going to get a couple of words from our sponsors. Remember to hit that share and like button and subscribe if you're new to the stream, and we'll be right back to you.
TSR Racing Products has everything you need to make your Power Glide Turbo 350, Turbo 400, and 727 transmissions the best they can be on the street or at the track. With exceptional products, customer service, and over 30 years of experience, TSR Racing Products is always available to help their customers with any of their transmission needs. In-house machining ensures you only receive the best products from TSR Racing. Visit TSR Racing Products at tsr-racing.com or give them a call at 800-394-5889.
Are able to provide you with whatever you desire to enhance your drag racing operation. Items like safety belt magnets, nitrous bottle holders, and even quick release delay box mounts are able to be obtained from BRG Motorsports 3D printer racing parts. Have a look at top-selling items such as helmet hooks and steering wheel hooks, which are proven to make it easier to maneuver throughout your race car. You can contact BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts at telephone number 765-729-1177.
All right. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel, brought to you by BRG 3D printed motorsports parts, Syntex printing, definitely over at the TSR. Hey, congratulations, Will, by the way. I see you got married. Congratulations. Hope you're out of the honeymoon. You might be tuned into some going bracket racing right now. Who knows? Don't want to get you in any trouble if you are. Everybody knows how that goes. But thanks for everything that you do. Ken Jones Performance, Driven, Racing Oil, everybody, Team 14 Motorsports, definitely thanks for what you do. But as we get back to it, I see Ronald in the chat here. He's asking, where can we buy GBR shirts? Want to send you over to Syntex Printing at this time, as we don't have a quote unquote online store. Syntex Printing will get you taken care of for a t-shirt if you'd like to buy one from him. However, the link is in our in every string that we do, and if for some reason that doesn't work for you, just get a contact with one myself or Casey through the Facebook page, and we'll get you in contact with Syntex. Casey, man, what we got going on next?
Well, there was one more part of the WDRA conversation that I wanted to get into, which is something that I actually really like, especially considering I just had, my boy's pretty young. He ain't going to be driving anything for quite a while, but they have a teen racing series. And I know NHRA has a version of this. I'm not sure the age you're allowed to start doing it, but drivers the age 13 to 17 are going to be able to race street legal vehicles with a co-driver. And the thing that I really like about this has nothing to do with the whole, people hate junior dragsters, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. It has nothing to do with that. I really like this idea because it seems to me that it's an extremely good way to teach your kid how to actually race, because they're of the age that they're starting to understand. They're starting to understand what is holding numbers. How do I stage? What happens whenever I don't really know what my car is going to run? Oh, I'm way out in front of them. Why does it look like this? Things like that. But this is giving you a real life situation where I can be sitting in the driver's seat. My son can be driving and I can be like, oh man, he's way back there. He's not catching us. Oh, wait, now he's coming way up on us. Like it's just a way that in real life situations, you can say, this is what happened. You both saw the same thing. After the race is over, you get out of the car, you can talk about exactly what happened and explain to them how the race developed as it was developing, because you both saw it. It wasn't you watching it from the outside. You saw it from the angle, or as close that you can be to behind the wheel. I think that's going to be extremely beneficial for young racer development.
I agree with that 100%. And like the main thing I like about what you just mentioned there is that there isn't going to be a from the perspective of the driver if you're in the passenger seat. You're sitting right there, so you have your perspective as well as the seasoned, quote unquote, seasoned racer in the passenger seat. So I definitely think there's going to be many advantages to that happening. I'd like to see that happen across the board as well. Let's be honest, Paige Hamlin and Hamlin Promotions, they have the ladies shootout. I would have loved to see my wife get into the ladies shootout, but I haven't had her, and she hasn't been at a racetrack enough to understand exactly what to do behind the wheel of a street car. And there was quite a bit of money. I want to say Danny Hoff threw an extra $500 on top of that thing, Yep. So just one more reason to go race Hamlin Promotions race if you're in this. Even if you ain't in the South, come on down to Texas. It's a fun event, right? But so being able to be in the passenger seat with my wife, as long as I'm not yelling at her, which probably might get into a little bit of might make an issue if I'm yelling. I know how to deliver what I'm trying to say, but to be able to teach her from that point of view would maybe make her competitive and want to enter those types of races.
That's true, man, because how many times have you been sitting up in the stands? I mean, me and you have been sitting in the stands together, and we're like, man, why isn't he lifting? What's he doing? Dragster's broke on the starting line. Well, guess what? Whenever you're in a 6-second door car and you can't see out the side and you're expecting this 440 dragster to come fly up on you, most people are going to run it all out. And it just so happens there's a lot of times that a guy will go a thou under because he's looking. But guess what? Some cars you just can't see out of. Our buddy Champ, he's a big dude. He might not be able to turn around in certain cars. I saw him driving a Monte Carlo. His head's over like this. So,
hey, I'll tell you what, especially from that right lane, with a car coming up on you, that's 440 dragster, the chances are I ain't even gonna look in the first place. So I hope my rearview mirror is in the right spot so I can at least see if he left the line in the first place, right? So, yeah, no, that's definitely a good take. I do like that feature. I hope there's a points program behind it, maybe to make it even more interesting, and it is going to serve as a really good way of getting others hooked on this sport. regardless of if you know how to race or not. Say you aren't one of my kids, but you want to learn how to race and you got a street car. Well, I'll get in the passenger seat with you after a background check, make sure you ain't got nothing going on, you know. But definitely, man, I think that's a good way to kind of hook people into the sport a little as well.
Yeah, man, definitely. And speaking of points programs, Ryan Gleghorn and Brody Quick came up with a pretty cool idea, if I do say so myself. And by the way, guys, this isn't a solidified thing. I was just texting Ryan not too long ago to get the lowdown on it and understand exactly how it was going to work. And this is just based on what he has seen this year. So it's not saying Jeff Serra is the greatest racer in the country, even though he very well might be. But it's just saying Ryan and Brody's program, they took every race that paid $15,000 or more from January 2021 until right now. And that's how the point system's laid out. And they don't have it ironed out, I don't think, yet exactly how points are going to work, because I did look in the chat and I think they're getting some new ideas as far as like they have it set up where like if you win a 50, then you get more points than if you win a 15. And some people don't agree with it. Some people do, you know. So, I mean, it's their program. They can do whatever they want with it. So at the end of the day, I think it's really cool because it's basically a points system for all of these big money races is essentially what it is. But yeah, like I said, he's not saying this guy's the best ever. What he's saying is this guy performed the highest throughout the year. And it's like 1 point per $1,000 won, something like that. The winner of the point system in 2023, Ryan, actually has already got hooked up with a Bruzy, and a Bruzy's going to give away a brand new converter to whoever wins this program in 2023. So, and I'm pretty sure he's looking for more people. So if you want to get more people, you know, you want to sponsor Ryan's program, get up with him on Facebook. You can always find him. He's always chatting on something or commenting on a race or actually literally the announcer of the race.
True.
So you can find him there. I'd like to see this take off, man. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely going to use it to my advantage whenever it comes to having a show on GBR as well. So thanks for the ranking, for lack of better terms there, and giving us an idea of who's doing what. It's like I said, without stuff like this and without social media, without Motor Mania TV as well, I probably wouldn't know who Sean Carpenter is. Let me keep it honest. You know,
yeah.
the guy's really good, you know, so I wouldn't know who Michael Carpenter is, you know, or Kyle Coltrera for that matter. So there's a lot of good races out here.
Definitely, man. And speaking of good racers out there, we've had 3 weeks of massive mega money racing, man. We had the Summer Fling a couple of weeks ago in Columbus, and on the same weekend, we had a $100,000 race down south for GABR in Montgomery, right? Last week we had the SFG Super Bowl. We had King of the Coast, another one of Galen Rollison's series. And we had the Summer Door Car Shootout. I'm sure that's not the only things, but that's what came to mind right there.
Right.
But this week, as of right now, as we speak, they're probably getting ready to start at the Fall Fling. They're probably getting ready to start that 32 car dragster shootout where the finalists are both winners. It's just winner's choice of who wants the American and who wants the race tech.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that started going live at 2, so Motor Mania is likely live right now. It's been a pretty busy day. I seen somebody else, I think Rondell Dahl, might have posted that inside of our chat. Been a busy Tuesday. Yeah, it has been. It's been a pretty busy one. It's going to be a little busy for the whole night as I'm going to clock back into work and do a little bit more. So, but definitely going to be a very entertaining weekend of racing. And then not too far after that, we're going to be headed to the OG Million. So this is just the highlight of the year. As the air gets better, the racing gets better, I guess. You know what I mean?
That's right, man. Well, as the air gets better, people want to go racing more because it's nice outside. Because I'll tell you what, the last couple of days, it's been extremely nice out here. And I want to say on Thursday at my house anyway, it's supposed to still get up to 90-something. But then that night, it's going to drop down to in the 50s. And it's going to stay about upper 70s, lower 80s for about the next 2 weeks. That's the optimal racing temperature right there because it's not so hot you're going to sweat, and it's not so cold that you need a jacket. It's just perfect. Cars like it. Track's always good. You know, keeps the dew down for the most part, depending on where you're at in the country. But I have a question for you, George. and it's something that just came to mind because the Spring Fling is one of the series that does this, and they race. I mean, technically Tuesday is a warm-up race. They really start racing on Wednesday. For example, the Fall Fling has a 15 grander tomorrow, a 30 grander Thursday, $100,000 main event Friday, and $30,000 to win Saturday. They don't race Sunday. They utilize Sunday for a makeup day. If one rains out or if everything all goes well, then you travel home that day. What are your thoughts on that? Because I've heard a lot of people say, man, I wish they would just push everything back until Sunday, because then that's one less day I have to take off work. But if you're going to Bristol, unless you happen to live in the general vicinity, like I'm about 4 hours, 5 hours away from there. In fact, my buddy Brandon Lane's heading there right after work today to go up there and drive Cody Strickland's car. You might see him deep in the rounds, wouldn't be surprising at all. But what do you think about that? Do you think they need to push it back further, or do you like having the Sunday open for the weather makeup if they have to?
Well, it's kind of to each his own, if you ask me. You see it happen differently amongst all of our promoters within the bracket racing community, where maybe Saturday's used, maybe Sunday's used for a makeup day. Maybe there's a race scheduled on the Sunday. The fact of the matter is, for the majority of these big races, you foresee it coming throughout the year in the first place. So if you're going and it ain't just on a whim, you've already got the whole week off in the first place. If you're going to a spring, or shall I say summer fling, fall fling right now in Bristol, you've already got those days X'd off in the first place. Okay, so I think it's just to each his own. It's going to be based on opinion, which we definitely like here at Going Bracket Racing. It's a great place to get your opinion heard in the first place. My opinion is whichever works best for the promoter, because without the race, as you always say, Casey, I wouldn't have nowhere to race in the first place. You know what I mean? So whatever they feel like is appropriate for the program to go off without a hitch. Say, for instance, you do get a little rain. Well, it's good to have that buffer zone on a Sunday for one day worth of raining, or say you got rained out twice in the middle of the night, towards the end of the race. You still have one more day to where you can at least finish it if you have to. So room for error. Nobody should ever be mad for room for error. I think it's only room to perfect, in my opinion. If you want me to use a different term other than error, and I like it. I do. I don't mind it at all. It doesn't affect me. But if I were to be going to the spring fling or summer fling or fall, whatever you want to call it, I would have already taken, looking at the schedule. You can find it probably on Loose Rocker or look at Spring Fling Facebook page, whatever. Looking at the schedule, I've already X'd off all those days in the first place.
And that's what I was actually getting ready to ask. If you're planning on going to a race like this, it's not something that you're just going to go willy-nilly. Like, you're going to plan for it more than likely with your vacation time throughout the year. And more than likely, you're taking off the whole week anyway. So really, what's the difference? And if you're going to a place like Bristol, Tennessee, go ahead and take the whole week off. Go down there, park your truck and trailer, drive somewhere, find somebody, because there'll be somebody that'll be like, man, just come with us. We're going to go drive around the mountains. We're going to go over here. We're going to do this. Let's go eat, Yeah. Racers, we're all best friends anyway, So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can find a pretty good brewery.
Yeah.
Who am I? I don't know. I could be wrong. You're in the mountains, for crying out loud. You're going to find a brewery, all right? So here's a good comment from Cody Newman. He's saying, I think it's more local might complain. The local racer might complain a little more. But the people traveling, they normally take the week off already. I think that's right. And to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, maybe those local racers are complaining a little bit because they were going to show up on Tuesday, but maybe your other big name racers couldn't get there yet, so they get a chance to race with a little less competition. Maybe. I'm just throwing it out there. It could be wrong, but something to think about, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's very possible, I suppose. But at the end of the day, I kind of think that it's and Cody Newman, he has to travel because where he lives in Canada, he's like 9 hours away from his closest track, I want to say, or 4, I think, is minimum, something like that. He'll tell us here in a second. But,
right.
Just thank everybody that there's a little more racing to be done where we live, don't have to really go that far, because I know he's actually got a pretty sweet setup. I think he actually got him one of them truck bed camper things.
That's pretty cool.
so he can actually go for a full weekend and then come back and not have to rough it.
That's pretty cool. Well, that's pretty cool for sure. So, hey, piggybacking back to the SFG race in Darlington, I just want to highlight this real quick. I believe I heard there was 375 entries at that race, and hats off, hats off. We haven't had that many races. I know TB did it, I do believe. I can't name a lot of people who've been close to that 400 entry mark, and hats off to SFG for putting on the Super Bowl bracket racing. Hats off to Darlington. I think there's something about racing in your area that says everybody's coming. So definitely good job.
Darlington is one of those tracks that's going WDRA next year.
That's a fact, man. That's a fact. So hats off to it, and it was definitely a blast watching that all weekend. I'm sorry to throw that back in there, kind of off tangent there, but.
No, man, it's all good. It's always part of GBR. We never really have. We kind of have a guideline, but we really don't.
No, especially not today. I think we may have had a guest today, but I think he had some work going on, or we couldn't have him on today, and had to do the show impromptu a little bit there. So trust me, we don't have a script. This is all live. It's coming out of our brain straight to you is what I'm getting at.
For better or for worse, but
right.
While we're at it, man, Champ's over here saying who's everybody picked for this weekend. So we might as well. We've been doing it this year anyway. Let's do a pick 'em for the fall fling coming up. And since luckily Ryan Gleghorn and Brody Quick already made a list, so let's just pick from that list. Might as well. It's
right.
Easy. It's right here.
Right. Let's go for it, man. You want to go first?
I can go first.
Go ahead.
If you're gonna give it up, I'll go first, and I'm gonna take our boy, who is probably one of the winningest racers. If you look, George, we were talking about this the other day. We were talking about the fact if you just erased the last, I want to say maybe 18 months right now, and you just, or not erased it, looked at the last 18 months, erased everything else, you might say, why does everybody care so much about Jeff Serra? Champ McCrory is the best racer of all time. And that's why I'm going with Champ McCrory, man, because if you look at Champ's big checks, as far as the number of races he's gone to, what do you think his win percentage even is? I mean, his win percentage might literally be, it might be 75%, man, as far as him even like just getting to the finals. Don't forget, whenever TB, who by the way has been on this show, go back and watch, whenever Tyler Bohannon won the guaranteed million for GABR, who did he beat? Champ McCrory.
Right. That's right. That's an excellent pick, and you can't take anything from the Champ. I'm gonna tell you that. Matter of fact, if you need anything from your race car parts for it, anything surrounding Motorsports itself, Champ can probably get his hands on it. So click in the link and go to Champ's Motorsports and go ahead and get yourself something. So the guy can do it in anything. I don't care what you stick him in. I don't care if it's a 7-second door car. I don't care if it's a 450 dragster. I don't care if it's a 480s, 4.5 flat. I don't care if it's a street car. It don't matter. He knows how to turn on the freaking wind light, okay? So, excellent pick. I have nothing to dispute about the fact that he could very well be in the talks very easily of one of the best to do it. Definitely on the list, in my opinion. You guys can leave your opinion in the chat. I'll throw it out there. I'm telling you. And just for context, everybody on Monday Morning Racer that's watching, we're about to go into what we call a power ranking system, or who's going to win the summer. Keep doing that. The fall fling. Okay. Fall fling is going to be presented by the Fling, Peter Biondo and his crew. I believe the top purse is $100K. Casey, correct me if I'm wrong. It might go higher than $100K, but that's $100,000 to a bracket racer. So just to give you a little context. Casey, who you got next?
Well, you didn't even pick your guy. You got to go next, man.
Oh, I got to go next? All right. I'm going with, from our list, somebody that I haven't heard a lot from all year long if he's at the race. And I think that we have to throw that caveat out there if they're at the race, because I see some guys on this list who there's a chance they may not be there. I don't really know. I'm going with Sugar Shane Carr. I saw the name on the list and said to myself instantly, man, I haven't heard that name very much all year long. And that's just the racer that you can't, if you take your thought process off of Shane Carr, you loaded your car up right after you did it. Let's put it that way. So I'm taking Shane Carr as to win some money at this race, if he's there.
Yeah, no, that's true, man. Shane's also in the talks of. See, the thing is, man, people get in these talks and they all want to say, for example, you look at Donovan Williams right now. Donovan Williams in 2022, absolutely dominant. I mean, the number of finals he's been in big money races and won most of them. You know, I've heard somebody the other day trying to say that Donovan Williams was one of the best to ever do it. And I'm like, Donovan Williams may very well be one of the best to ever do it eventually. Donovan Williams is definitely, I take that back. Donovan Williams will be considered one of the best to ever do it just because of what he's done if he never wins again after 2022. But to say he's the best that ever did it, have you forgotten about who his daddy and who his uncle are? Who do you think taught him all that stuff? Those two are some of the greatest to ever do it. Donovan, whenever you do it for another 20 years, then you're on their scale. But until then, you're still under your dad, man.
Hey, and I'll give Donovan a little credit. He probably won in a $100,000 race well before his dad and his uncle did in his career.
Age-wise.
So taking it into that context, I could get your thoughts as to he could be on the list of one of the greatest to do it. You already mentioned Casey. He's going to go down with a pretty good record already. I think he's won 200s, maybe even 300-granders this year. I'm not 100% sure, right? But definitely another good choice. I'm going to go ahead and go with Matt Daddis. I will continually pick Matt Daddis. I will. The guy's just good. He shows up when it's time to show up. In the big rounds, he's just there. He makes the right decision at the end and at the beginning. He's on the tree. You can't take nothing from my pick, Matt Daddis, because I just said you couldn't. There you go.
That's true, man. And what did he win at Gateway? 50-something rounds in one weekend?
Look, man, if it gets on a string, I'm urging everybody at the Summer Fling. If I did it again, the Fall Fling. I'm glad it's not summer anymore. It's too hot in Texas. Anyway, if he gets on a string at the Fall Fling, please watch out, because he's going to be somebody to worry about the whole weekend. Okay, that's my number 3 pick right there.
Yep, I'm going with KB, Kevin Brandon, man, because you can never count him out. Talking about people who are always deep in the rounds, Kevin Brandon's always there, and you don't even know what car he's going to be in. The chances are he's going to be in that purple and black Monza. He can be in the door car side way deep. He can be in the dragster side deep. He could have both of them running each other in the final. It wouldn't surprise anybody.
You can't take it from him. That old Monza is pretty nice. I'd love to drive it. It's a pretty nice car. And as another guy, it doesn't matter what he's driving in. You forget that he's there, and you're going to be on the trailer. It is what it is. Did he do pretty good at, maybe he even won Vegas this year? Am I right about that?
Yeah, in somebody else's car, because I want to say I heard that his either he had problems with his or he just kind of showed up there and didn't have one, but he got in a car that he never drove, and he won the Vegas Million this year. And that's a progressive person. By the way, it tops the number of cars for the entire year, because I think they had 575. 575, I'm pretty sure. Because we thought, if I remember correctly, we were wondering what the spring fling at Galat was going to be like, because Vegas was so big. We thought Galat was going to be packed.
Right. I do remember that. As I pick Michael Carpenter next. Flies under the radar a little bit, in my opinion, but is on this list of the power ranking. And that's why I'm bringing it up, because he's on this list, but people just don't pay enough attention. So there's a theme to what I've been doing with my picks. Most of the people who I'm picking right now, you cannot forget they're at the race. Michael Carpenter's one of them.
Yep. And my fourth pick, my final pick, because we got 4 days of racing here, is going to be another young guy who's going to go down in the books with Donovan Williams as one of the best that ever did it, but not quite yet, because they got a long time to go. But Corey Galletti.
I know it.
Corey Galletti is going to be deep this week. I feel like he hasn't been Corey Galletti this year. I feel like Corey has kind of been silent this year. I think he won in the McCarty's truck, I guess, quite a bit. But it's funny to say that That's the only two things I remember Corey winning this year. And if it was you or me, we'd be happy with that. But I don't think he is.
Hey, I think that just as long as you put a caveat on big races, pretty sure he's won a few tens, maybe a few fives, maybe a few 20s, 50. I don't know. He's won some money though. I know that much. They call the kid Crash. I won't call you Crash. I just know that's what they call you, Corey. A great pick, great pick. I seen him get on a pretty good roll at SFG. I thought he was moving pretty good there at last week's race. And if he's heading over to Bristol, which I'm pretty sure he is, coming in with a little head of steam is going to be in his favor. So definitely a good pick. I'm going to go ahead with Johnny Ezel. And I'm not going to say why I'm going with Johnny Ezel. I think everybody can fill in the blanks there.
Yep, and I feel like speaking of quiet years, I feel like Johnny's kind of had a fly under the radar year too. I think he's won a couple reasonably big races and stuff, but he hasn't been on the Johnny Ezel stage that we're used to him being on. And I just don't see it where Johnny isn't on that big stage before 2022 is over with.
Yeah, me neither. And it was one of the racers on, I believe Peter Biondo made a kind of a driving tutorial, and Johnny is one of the guys who's coaching you. So if you get a chance, go over there and listen to it or purchase whatever's coming out. Support the racers that actually put that together. There's going to be some really good information in there. I know I'm going to watch it myself. I haven't got my hands on it yet, but I have seen an interview or two kind of detailing what they're talking about there. So definitely, I'm taking Johnny Ezel. He'll mess around and be in a couple of deep rounds this weekend if he's there.
Yep, and at the same time, man, some of these races pay so much money that once it's split back, there's no shame in being in the semifinals, because Michael Pascal might have got more money than a lot of people won being in two semis at SFG this past weekend. So, it's all about being in the money. Doesn't really matter where you end up. You always want to be top dog, but 16 guys typically are more top dog than everybody else there.
It's true. I got honorable mentions here, though, coming from the chat. And if you guys want to throw something out, now's your chance, because I'm fixing to go through those honorable mentions. I see Cam Manuel down here. Looks like that one's coming from Alan Boynton. Great call out. Amanda, Cameron, you can just say Manuel, because both of them are really, really accomplished bracket racers. I would definitely say it's good to have called out a Manuel. They'll get on a string, and you're going to wind up on a trailer. I'm going to say it for the rest of the stream. Bracket Racer 1 is saying J.R. Barclay happens to be on the power ranking list. Very good call. I think he drives a blown car, if I'm not mistaken myself. Casey, do you know?
Yeah, I believe it's a black blower dragster 440s. Usually he can turn it and make it go whatever he wants to go, probably. But it's the only blower dragster I've ever seen hot lap like crazy and not have any issue whatsoever. If he rolls up there, dead on. Doesn't matter if it's transmission's 200 degrees or 100 degrees, it's going to go dead on.
That makes a lot of sense. Hey, and I'll tell you what, shout out to Race Kid. He got him a pretty good pocket full of change at SFG as well. So I'd have to imagine that Race Kid is going to be up on the mountain. As Chance Parker's shouting out Race Kid as an honorable mention to get some of that money. Somebody, of course, is going to throw out the Nasty Man's name. I don't have to fill in the rest of that. But Nasty Nick Hastings coming out from fixing used race cars. So shockingly, neither one of us picked Nick Hastings this week. Is that a target on his back type of deal, Casey, or was it just like, I can't really pick Nick off this list?
It's too easy of a pick, man. And to be honest with you, I just figured that you were going to pick first, and I figured your first pick was going to be him, and I just didn't bother.
Hey, you know what? That was my thought process too. I didn't even put him on my list because I figured you'd take him. So, I can't believe he made it all the way through our picks and wasn't picked, but he can't make it through going bracket racing the crowd itself. Fixing used race cars, throwing out the Nasty Nick Hastings man there. So, So I got Scotty getting thrown out by Wayne Duke. He loves Bristol. If he's there, yeah, man, he's on this list too. Scotty Richardson definitely has a handle on the mountain, seemingly.
Speaking of the list, here's something that needs to be said. The fact that this is 2022's $15,000 and up. This is the list of who, how it stacks as far as the amount of money that's been won, right? Now, this is what needs to be said. Donovan Williams, number 5. Gary Williams, number 14. Troy Williams Jr., number 20. All this is all one family in the top 20 of the entire country. That's crazy.
It is and it isn't. I've been watching Troy since, heck,
Right.
man, I can't even remember how long, So he's not one of those names that just because he's down south, I don't know. Even growing up in the Midwest, I mean, you'd see his rig pull up at Gateway, and there's Troy Williams. I remember hitting the practice tree with him in Brad Gephardt's trailer. That was a great night, by the way. That was a fun night. I remember that like yesterday. But so definitely that family, as a family, you got your Richardsons, you got your Seamars. I know a lot of people might not know that Seamar name, but I know the name, right? Okay. You got your Atchisons. Yeah, buddy. We out here. You got your Beckmeyers.
Not on this list.
Right. But what I'm getting at is for a whole family to be on a list of power rankings for this year, that's saying something, man. That's saying a lot. So congratulations on a heck of a year to the Williams brothers and sons as a whole. You know what I mean? So
just be glad they don't have more sons, man.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be room for the rest of us.
Woo, well, I don't think it would matter if they had daughters at this
That's
pace.
true.
Shoot, man, whatever
That's
they put in the race car is gonna get in there. I see Coltrera out here. I see Tommy Plott out here as well. Plott definitely hasn't had a Tommy Plott type of year this year as well. So
hey, man, that's not true because actually I want to say he was in the finals of the 50 grander at SFG on Sunday.
Well, then darn. It's one race I missed, and there's Tommy Plott. So he's coming in with a pretty good head of steam. That goes a long way in bracket racing. If you're coming in with a little bit of confidence, you're kind of going to be hard to beat. It is what it is. So, and that's why the Williams brothers are going to be hard to beat all weekend, even though none of them got picked off of our list either. How about that, Casey?
Wild, man. It just is what it is. We'll see what happens.
What were we thinking, for crying out loud? Anyway, man, we're coming up on that hour mark, and one of these days we'll make our show maybe a little bit longer. Maybe one day we'll throw another 15 minutes at the end of it, but coming up on that hour mark, definitely want to say thank you to Monday Morning Racer for letting us commandeer the Monday Morning Racer page, and I'll get the bugs worked out. I'm pretty sure I already have up here in this old brain what's going on, and we'll have that worked out for the next stream. But for now, Casey, what you got before we get out of here?
Man, just got to thank those sponsors one more time. Team 14 Motorsports, Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas. Driven Racing Oil. Use the code GBR10 for 10% discount. Champ's Performance Parts. Good luck, Champ, if you're up there in Bristol, which I know you are because I actually just saw you go down the track and you're in the Dragster Shootout. TSR Racing Products, where congratulations, Will, on getting married, getting healthy again. And BRG 3D Printed Parts. Ken Jones Performance Parts. And what do we say, George?
As always, guys, we will see you next Tuesday. Take it easy.